All right, everybody. It's Thursday, July 18th. We've got a full deck of Chapos in the same room coming to bring you, unfortunately, this breaking news. Lou Dobbs has died. I'm seeing reports that Lou Dobbs is dead. I'm sorry I had to break it to you like this. It's Lou Dobbs, Bob Newhart in the same day, but the question on everyone's mind, who's going to be number 3? And I have a candidate. I don't know. I mean, there's someone that's on the tip of everyone's tongue here. Unless on our most recent episode, I said I feared the fun would soon be over, or I was hoping that the comeback Joe would still have some fire left in him. But like, folks, today, I fear he may be going out like Stan Chera. We have several Stan Chera situations developing, and we will give you the news as it breaks. But right now, it's not looking good. It's not looking good, Joe Biden heads. I've tried to support our president. I've tried to support democracy, but the elites in the party and in his brain are going to take it from us.
Let's all of us, on Monday, let's skip school. All of us who are in middle school, like me, let's skip school and let's go to NBC News. Let's go to Lester Holt's office. Let's go up to Lester Holt, and all of us, all 5,000 of us middle schoolers, we all say what President Biden defiantly said to Lester Holt. We say, let's all say, the look on Lester Holt's face will be epic, and they'll know we stand with Joe.
Yeah. All my middle school homies out there, no more homework until Biden is accepted as the nominee. No more homework. All my little battle fellas out there, we're going to the battle box.
All the battle fellas, there is going to be a general strike in Fortnite. We're not going to shoot at each other until we get assurances that Biden will be the nominee.
We're laying down all our minis, all our chug jugs. That will not pass our lips until Biden is the nominee.
Absolutely not. We have some really exciting stuff. We're going to be doing dual power in Roblox. remember dual power? It's coming back, and it's in Roblox.
He's dead, right?
Amber,
this is death of Stalin, right?
It's not looking great. I still have some hope. I still have some hope that, look, obviously Kamala, she's right there waiting in the wings. But here's what can happen. Joe Biden can step aside as the president. Kamala steps into that role. Who does she appoint as her vice president? That's right, Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. He's back. And then when she comes in the White House, she'll resign. He'll become president again, finally. A bridge back to where we started.
And then in 2028, when like we think, the era of good feelings is over, the party's over, Joe Biden can run for Speaker of the House of Representatives.
What if we appoint him to the Supreme Court?
I don't want. I want him to be Speaker, so the next Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker, they both commit suicide, and Joe Biden becomes president again at age 90, 2032.
I want Kamala to be there. I want her to be president. I mean, mostly because I don't want TV to get bad again, but also, how good would it be for Hillary Clinton to see a different female president?
I
mean, my God.
She would bite her own tongue off.
Oh, well,
that would be the most passive-aggressive phone call in history. Could you imagine? Well, I bet it's pretty exciting for you, having your kids in the... Or wait, they're your stepkids, right? They're not even your kids.
Did they write any children's books?
Yeah. It's, oh my God. I think that has to happen. Like, I am sad to see Joe go, but I think we all saw the clip of him getting on Air Force One in performance mode, where he was in 30 frames per second. I don't know what happened. I don't know how he defied the laws of optics to be rendered in Dreamcast like that. But it's not looking good. And I'm very sad to see him go, but that is a good consolation prize.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be fun though? Like, the party definitely wouldn't be over. We'd have President drunk MILF stepmom. That would be so fun. She has a genuine laugh. I don't think it's fake.
No, I don't think either.
Rolling. Yeah. She is rolling.
Yeah, no. All that stuff she finds legitimately funny. Like a big bus. She's like, oh, the bus is so big. That's so funny. It's delightful.
I think it is safe to say, though, that Joe Biden is about to become unburdened by the context of what's come before him.
Yes, true.
Well, that's such a good phrase for her, because that it literally probably does describe like Biden's attempted inner monologue. Like that's probably what he's telling himself. You know, whenever my favorite Biden moments are when he's making a speech and he knows that he fucked up.
Yeah.
When he's up there and he's like, former Trump, not seriously injured. And you can see like in his eyes, he's like, God damn it, Mac, you fucked up again.
Anyways, he does the anyways.
Anyway.
That's probably what he's like. His neurologist was like, you have to remember you are part of a context of things that came before you. And he's like, oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, Amber, when we spoke the other day, you said like right after the Trump assassination attempt, like, wouldn't it be funny and appropriate if Trump was like 5 millimeters away from getting his comb over canoed? And then, like,
hair stayed tight.
Trump nearly gets shot, and then Joe Biden dies.
Like, day after.
Yeah.
What if there was another assassination attempt, and people are like, oh, they're not going to be able to do it, and then just Joe Biden immediately died? That's the funniest. Double death of Stalin?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
But I before we get into Donald Trump and the best of the RNC this week, I got a few things on, like, Biden's last week or so, because, you know, like, post debate, they're like, you know, he's got to get out there. He's got to do interviews. He's got to show people he's still hanging on, and it's produced some great moments. Like, for instance, this is Julia Iaffe of Puck said that she saw a video of a Zoom call between Biden and various congressional Democrats that went like this. The campaign did not, however, dispute this next part about Crow and his Bronze Star in a video of the Zoom that I was able to view. You can hear Biden chastising Crow, who asked about the importance of national security to voters. First of all, I think you're dead wrong on national security, the president says, the emotion at times garbling his words.
Yes, he got too emotional.
That's very generous.
Yeah. You saw what happened recently in terms of the meeting we had with NATO. I put NATO together. Name me a foreign leader who thinks I'm not the most effective leader in the world on foreign policy. Tell me who the hell that is. Tell me who put NATO back together. Tell me who enlarged NATO. Tell me who did the Pacific Basin. Tell me who did something that you've never done with your Bronze Star, like my son. I'm proud of your leadership, but guess what's happening? We got Korea and Japan working together. I put AUKUS together.
AUKUS. I am so obsessed with AUKUS right now. Yeah. I have to tap in for this. It's been so funny that the one thing that he's obsessed with in trying to re-put together his campaign in this like last due month is all the fucking international security deal bullshit. I want to find if there is one voter in the entire country who is moved by AUKUS.
Show me one voter. Show me one voter. He's obsessed with that. He's obsessed with. He wants people to show him other foreign leaders for this and that, probably because he needs them like flashcards. But like, he's obsessed with AUKUS and Finland and. Show me another foreign.
His rosebud as he's dying in his Delaware mansion, as the snow globe rolls out of his hand, he's just going to be going, Finland.
AUKUS is it's like something that like a provisional Boer government would have attempted. Like, okay, we're gonna do a defense pact with all the weirder Commonwealth countries. It's just so like, who is into that? But I want to zero in on another part of that call when he says to Crow. By the way, this Rep Crow has been like a steadfast Biden ally.
He's been a huge Ukraine guy.
Gone out of his way for like Ukraine, for Brandon. When Brandonflation was happening, he was like, I like it. It makes math easier at the checkout. He's been Brandon's strongest soldier, and I like that Joe. You can kind of like figure out his internal monologue by his fuck ups, because he says, "Tell me something that you never did with the Bronze Star my son has," which is like. If I can try to interpret it, I think I'm really good at interpreting Biden because my grandmother is extremely old. My grandmother is 104.
Isn't
that not? Isn't that crazy? Isn't that crazy? We're giving her a plane and a pilot's license soon. Look forward,
Well, she's part
Chicago.
of the AUKUS deal. She's getting a French nuclear submarine as well.
Yeah, no, she is going to be the fleet commander under AUKUS.
She's
that
going
what
to
AUKUS
circle
is?
New Zealand.
Wait a second. AUKUS was like Australia gets nuclear submarines built by France or something like that.
No one knows.
I don't know. Yeah.
But like, okay, back to the Bronze Star thing. He was saying that like Representative Crow has never done anything, but then another part of his brain is like, wait, but he got a Bronze Star and that's good, and Bo got that too. And so like the two shitty streams of his brain are running into each other. They're like two septic tanks spraying into each other. And so one part of his brain is like, you never did anything with that Bronze Star, but also you're my son.
Well, what an insane thing to say, because he was like, okay, this guy's one of his strongest supporters. He's a military hero by political standards, winner of the Bronze Star. And he's like, you're dead wrong. My son won a Bronze Star too. It's just like, what? And then when he says, I put NATO together, Blood thinks he's Dean Acheson. What the fuck is going on here?
He says, who expanded NATO like me? George W. Bush, not that long ago. Like, I mean, you both added a lot of those countries that have hay-based economies into NATO. You both did that.
Well, there was that, and then there was like a number of other interviews he did, like the one with that guy from Complex Magazine, Speedy, that was supposed to be like the most softball interview you could possibly give him to, like, for young people out there. And then he says, "Are you a Zionist?" And he was just like, he asked him, "Are you a Zionist?"
Yeah. Dude, that guy, I had no idea.
The Sneaky or Speedy or whatever his name is, asked him.
Speedy Mormon.
Yeah, Speedy Mormon asked him, "Are you a Zionist?"
Should have been Slowy.
He asked him, "Are you a Zionist?" And he said, "Yes, I am." "Are you a Zionist?" And then he said, "By the way, no one's done more for the Palestinian people than I have," which is just like,
well,
how can you?
I don't really
What's
know.
going on? Yeah.
That guy who interviewed him, Speedy Mormon, and that's his name. It's not Mormon, it's Morman. I don't know who he is. I don't know how he got that name. Maybe he really is a fast man.
Yeah. More man than anybody.
I would, if he became famous just because he beat someone in a race, I would love that. He beat a previous rating. He beat Charlemagne the God in a foot race. And they're like, you can have his old job.
Casey Kasem.
Yeah. But he immediately put me at ease. He's such a relaxing guy. He reminds me of I don't know, when you're like on the subway and someone politely tells you there's a pregnant woman that needs to sit down, when you have like your AirPods in and you're listening to like the 30 most evil rapes and murders of all time on YouTube, and you're like, oh, someone politely asking you to do something in a way that you don't feel like an asshole. He has that vibe. He just really made me feel good, and I think that's why they put him in front of Biden. They're like, this will relax Biden. It'll be the opposite of showing water to a dog with rabies. And it didn't work. It just aggravated him. It made him go crazy. He went the question about Zionism, where he's like, Zionism is the belief that Jews live somewhere. And then, like,
if you think Jewish people should have a house, then you're a Zionist, Jack.
Yeah. And he, like, why asking the interview, well, are you a Zionist? Like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, we spoke about it on our last episode about, like, now that they're at, like, DEFCON 1 or 5, I don't know, whatever the bad one is, they hit the black voter button as hard as possible. So they're doing interviews with, like, BET, and Biden was recently at the, also last week at the NAACP convention, where he had a teleprompter, he was reading off a teleprompter, and it was clearly, he was announcing, like, there's the rollout of all of these awesome progressive policies that we're going to get if we vote for Biden. It was supposed to be a 5% cap on rent increases, and he was like, we're doing it this year. We're going to have and you can see him try to read it off the teleprompter. He goes, we're capping rent raises at $55. And everyone started applauding, and they're like, yes, all right. Could you imagine that? They can only raise your rent $50 a year. And then the last one I want to talk about today, this is an interview with BET where he was like saying, look at all the fire, look at all the burn I got for the Secretary of Defense, black man.
For Secretary of Defense, the black man.
The black man.
And then he said, I don't like he said when Beetle Bailey swears. That's what he said next. It was just like an ampersand, like a bunch of symbols. A fish skeleton was in there, and then he goes, Ketanji Brown. It's like, that's a different person, Joe.
The black.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just so, like, even if he had said that flawlessly, it's so, like, unartful and clunky and just insulting to be like, everyone hates me because I give black people jobs. But to do it in that way where you can barely remember who you're talking about, and you're like, oh, this is two blacks.
In all fairness to Biden, I don't know who the Secretary of Defense is.
Well, Lloyd Austin is also dying. He's the second He's the second most dying man of the year.
Yeah,
he's the one who kept going to secret hospital visits.
Yeah, that he's always going
without like telling anybody at the Secretary of Defense. So they're just like, "Where's Lloyd today?"
He's always like, he'll go to Greece to like be like, "Hey, can you give them some of those F-16s that you filled with feta?" That you got all the diner coleslaw in. Can you give Ukraine those weird F-16s? And they're like, yeah, okay. And then he has to go and they put a new colon in his body. They give him a stool transplant. He dies and like is brought back to life every diplomatic trip. He's one of the least alive people in the country.
Well, I mean, like I think probably the worst sign for Biden, the illest portent, is that he's lost Aaron Fupar. Aaron Fupar is giving out the ghost. And, Brendan James pointed this out to me yesterday. Aaron Fupar's entire job is watching TV and posting clips of things he's seen on TV. Took the day off when Trump got shot.
Oh my God.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, he took the day, and he was taking his mom to see Earth, Wind, and Fire. First of all, Aaron Rupar is like 65 years old. His mom is actually my grandmother's grandmother. His mother is 290 years old. Going to see Earth, Wind, and Fire, who themselves have to be 300 at this point.
But they look great.
They probably look great. I think Aaron Rupar just really likes old people. But he's suffering through this concert, and then he's like, how much money do you think he lost? Not posting the assassination clip. He probably tried dozens
of dollars.
He probably tried to, like, on the way back when he figured out what happened, he probably tried to drive him and his mom into a molasses factory to kill them. Not actionable.
Well, speaking of other things that are not actionable, let's talk about the grand old party and their convention, because obviously they are truly feeling themselves right now, and as well they should, because Trump nearly getting shot was probably one of the best things that's ever happened to him. Luke O'Neill, I like the way he put it, that Trump microdosed being assassinated, and they found that it really agrees with him. But here's the thing that I find funny, at least over like the last couple of days since this has happened, like last week or so. The amazing thing to me is that he has seen absolutely no bump in his poll numbers or approval rating at all. Like there's like not been anything close to like a national outpouring of sympathy, because it was like when it happened, they're like, oh, political differences aside, you really got to feel for the guy, or like there's no place for this. And people were sort of like presented with the possibility of Donald Trump getting killed, and they were like, eh.
Well, think about his base. They're like, you almost got shot. What are you, gay?
Yeah.
It's just like, again, like, I think it saved the country that the assassin just did not know what was going on. It turned out, by the way, this guy looked up pictures of Trump and Biden because he was like, oh yeah, what do those guys look like in case I'm going to kill them? It's just
the strangely apolitical nature of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, this was the most like non-voter assassination attempt I've ever seen. It was just real. It was really, he had no shot.
It was super America Now. It was not a retro attempt at like assassinating a president. It's like randomized. It's just a 20-year-old freak who's just like fucked up. It's like when the conspiracy theories start coming out, I was just like, okay, but what's more likely? Some sort of inscrutable plot, or the fact that a 20-year-old got a gun and decided to do something totally weird for no reason.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A guy who looks like that has never done a weird failed thing with a gun before. Like,
also, the miraculousness of the actual shot, I think, really shuts down any lanes for conspiracy things because that is actually.
Oh my God! What are the odds?
It is actually impossible to call a shot that grazes the ear.
Now it's just the icing.
No scope, right?
So I mean,
No,
like, if
so.
he hadn't turned his head at the last second, we would be having a very different conversation right now, which is semi-frightening to think about. But to quote Richard Harris as English Bob from Unforgiven, there's a dignity in royalty, a majesty that precludes the likelihood of assassination. If you were to point a pistol at a king or queen, your hands would shake as though palsied. But if you did, I can assure you, if you did, that the sight of royalty would cause you to dismiss all thoughts of bloodshed, and you would stand, how shall I put it, in awe. Now, a president, well, I mean, why not shoot a president?
Yeah.
But, so, like, yeah, like, they have not, like, they're feeling themselves at the Republican convention. And I want to talk about that, and I want to get into the Republican convention, because I would like to shout out Greg Giroux, because someone retweeted him, posting a clip from the 96 Republican convention, from the floor of the convention, the singing senators.
oh, yeah.
That's right.
We watched this clip. It really, I mean, it's wonderful, but we're going to talk about why it kind of made us sad.
Yeah, no. So if you don't remember, the singing senators were an a cappella group comprised of Trent Lott, John Ashcroft, Jim Jeffords, and of course, the God, Larry Craig.
Larry Craig, the king of the Minneapolis airport bathroom.
Oh my God.
And
I wonder if, like, their count off was him going.
Amber was just knocking on the floor.
but let's just hear a few bars from the singing senators, just to get in the proper mindset.
Metro Boomin wants some more.
Mustard on the beat, huh? But yeah.
They show the wives in that clip. They show the wives of the singing senators, and you can see like the look in their eyes. They know they're getting some birthday dick that night. Like we watched that clip and it's wonderful. It puts you in such a good mood.
Yeah.
It made me like if that was
I
what
woke up this morning just humming Elvira.
Like if that was what being a Republican was, I would be one now. Like at this point in my life, like I don't care what the beliefs are. I don't give a shit. Well, let's bomb Bosnia. I don't care. It's just I like the whole outfit and the personality of just being like, well, on Sundays, my wife makes the graham cracker crust pie. Time to go blow a guy in the airport. The whole like person. It's so cool. It's so self-assured. And now it's like the Republican Party is like, the Benny Johnson foam party to save the American family has been canceled for a blackface contest. And it's like, what the fuck? You can't be a businessman and be into this. This isn't cool. When you're not listening to Elvira, the greatest song ever, you're listening to like, they make their own versions of like One Republic songs, but to be about killing trans people. Like, it's so weird. I hate it now.
Well, like, speaking of, the God, Larry Craig, I guess like this started me wondering because like, I've been alive long enough to see like a number of these conventions and like invest in them or be interested in what the party platforms is. And I guess the thing that strikes me is like the specifics and the characters and the personalities and crucially the people who are funding the Republican Party or who are ascendant change. And I'm speaking of the Democrats as well. But essentially like mostly it just stays the same. But I guess I want to wonder is like, was it better to be a gay Republican in the Elvira days or now?
I have to say, I do feel bad. I think we decided that it's like, it is sad for Larry Craig because like, this was his secret shame, right? And there was no, like, when he was singing Elvira, that was like the most gay he could get, in public. And there were no abs. Think about all the weird shit you had to do as a gay senator in like 1996. You had to probably like learn, I don't know, like the flags they teach you as a sailor. You probably had to learn, like you had to do all types of like stuff from the Eagle Scouts that I don't even. You have to send smoke signals if you even wanted to kiss him.
It was like a semaphore hanky code or something.
Yeah.
Paul Revere's candle code from his midnight ride.
Yeah, it was probably so hard. And now, like, Larry Craig now and Trent Lott.
One if by lips, two if by hips.
like Trent Lott made a speech at a private, like, lunch for Strom Thurmond and was like, the country would be better now if he had won. And they immediately got him out of there. They were like, fuck you, you're done. Like, you said this about a segregationist. And now that wouldn't even make the news.
No.
That would not make the news. And I think Larry Craig's Republican Party would be more fun for me. But, like, for him, think how much fun Larry Craig would be having at a Benny Johnson hosted RNC. Yeah. Oh, my God. I mean, we've gone to a Benny Johnson party.
Hunks. Standees of hunks.
So many hunks. Benny Johnson he's probably made like patriotic Molly and poppers to give to people.
Do you think Lindsey Graham is having a good time?
Oh, yeah. Lindsey Graham is one of those gays that would be really pissed if it was totally normalized because he's like, it used to be fun and subversive. Yeah. No, but I got to say, Craig is probably like, I could have gone to like Andrew Gillum parties and like.
Yeah. It's like, because Elvira seems so fun and quaint, but like it's also deeply weird.
It's
so
strange.
it's so weird, and I guess it's just the flavor of weirdness evolves, but the essential scene remains unchanged at all of these political conventions. I don't know what the Democrats are going to come out with. We'll be in Chicago covering it. It should be fun regardless. But are they going to come up with anything as good as the Billy Porter, was it the stop? Hey, what's that sound? Remember that one? Yeah.
That was it. Billy Porter didn't even need to be there. He like wasn't even singing. He was just twirling around like an idiot.
Children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Like
no one invited him.
Yeah.
He just does that.
Yeah.
He's the gay version of a guy with a guitar at a party.
He's like a vampire. You have to invite him to dance. That was, I don't know. I think less dignified than Elvira. Yeah. Elvira, I would listen to on my own.
I was kind of surprised, like when you before you pulled it up, I'm like immediate prediction. It's Good Night Ladies. You know, like Elvira's a weird choice for them. It's not. They don't seem like a even as Bubba-fied as they want to get. It's not like Oak Ridge Boys Bubba. You want them to one, it's a show tune.
Yeah.
And two, it just seems so much more chaste.
Yeah.
Well, those were the times though. There was a real like 1950s morality to them.
I just gotta say, like in the changing personalities and character of the RNC, I guess we shouldn't get on now to like a man who's being hailed as somewhat of a departure, which is, my brother from the same mother, who can tell? J.D. Vance, because there's a big article about his sort of like his intellectual influences, and I'll give you the executive summary here. It's Mencius Moldbug, Rod Dreher, and the Claremont Institute. But like what I'm enjoying about J.D. Vance is like, and another thing I find relatable to him, as a Leo with blue eyes and a big face and a big beard, and everyone thinks he's handsome and cute. Is that like he does seem to have undergone somewhat of a political, I wouldn't say conversion, but just evolution in a world steeped in insane internet politics, which again I find totally relatable. But like as compared to Larry Craig singing Elvira on stage, compare that to J.D. Vance following a guy on Twitter, and I'm not making this up, Hitler rape Groyper.
Okay, I have to say, okay, I hate to correct the record here, but the Hitler rape Groyper and the Grecian towel boy thing, those are photoshops. Those are jokes. He doesn't really follow them.
Right.
God,
you
just want a little bit of magic in this world.
I mean, it's already like, I already feel like it's incriminating enough that like there are real screenshots of him in group chats with like, Base Tyler and all these 15-year-olds. hanging out.
It also feels very, hello, fellow kids. Like, I don't know if he evolved or anything. I think he's just a sponge that fits in any
that's what I
place.
mean. I think he sort of he fits the container that he's poured into.
Yeah, look at him. He's very liquid.
Yeah, is sort of like, and I guess the change is that Peter Thiel and Silicon Valley are in ascendance in their sort of funding and promotion of the Republican Party, because that is the major sector of the American economy that they're concerned with, and they want less regulation on crypto or AI or whatever. But I think they see in Trump a sort of a godhead-like figure of sort of an American Caesar that they all sort of style themselves after. But JD, I guess the interesting thing is Amber, we can talk about labor in the Republican Party for a second, but the thing that I'm going to say is that JD Vance, and I think his speech last night was when my mom was on Oxy, Biden was voting for NAFTA, and then when she was still on Oxy, he was voting for the Iraq War. And they've sort of made a turn on the Iraq War, but I find it interesting that a lot of the neoconservatives seem to be this is a change of the guard or whatever. But in one sentence, they'll be yeah, the Iraq War was bad, but then also we got to get it tough with Iran and go to war with the Mexican drug cartels.
That entire brand of national conservative foreign policy is we're anti-interventionists, no more money for Ukraine. Let's stop wasting money on Ukraine and give all this money to Taiwan and focus on China instead. We hate inflation. Let's go to war with the country that makes everything. But yeah, no, I mean, we all noticed JD Vance's transition in 2021 when he was, we talked about it then when he was he sounded like Sideshow Bob. Talking to construction workers, where he was isn't Alex Jones fantastic? It's what the fuck? You don't think that? With JD Vance, it really annoys me because it's you are Davos. You are Mr. Davos. You're Mr. fucking World Economic Forum. You love those things. You wrote a book about how no one you grew up with would ever be good enough to have lunch with Larry Summers. And it's you can't at 39 be okay, I'm into this now. I'm based now.
It's a combination of opportunism and a midlife crisis. But I don't know. I think the interesting thing about him is that, he's still very low key tech oriented. That's his thing. He's de-emphasized it from his public image. But at the same time, I don't kind of wonder, doesn't it seem like his attachment to tech has to do with his uncanny inhumanness? He, much like those guys, seems like an alien trying to imitate a human at all times.
I think there's a relatability. There's a lingua franca between him and a guy like Mark Andreessen.
Yeah,
who also has a
no
weird
one
head.
else.
Yeah. Or Peter Thiel for that matter. Yeah, and then in the article about the currents of intellectual thought and leaders that influence him. The fact that Rod Dreher the fact that he's boys with Rod Dreher is reason enough to put him in the White House.
How could you even make policy based on what Rod Dreher tells you? Yeah. What would that even mean? Okay, we're going to start giving out PVC fetish suits to all veterans. What would that mean?
I don't know. I think maybe he also believes in demonic possession or whatever. It seems like those three people could not be more different, but I think he wanted to, what is it called? Skills maxing or whatever,
min-max?
Yeah, whatever it is. Balancing, creating a huge balance of things, because it's just you want, my context for it is more D&D. You want a cleric.
Min-max. You're thinking min-max.
Okay. Yeah, you want to, it just seems like he's trying to spread his portfolio.
Another failed bard becomes a cleric. His tale is all this time. But a few other highlights from the RNC so far. Is Trump speaking tonight? Or if anything, Chris, you and I were talking about this in the car right over here. If Biden drops out while Trump is speaking,
that would be the move. Go announce the press conference an hour before, and just the moment Trump speaks, and apparently Trump's supposed to go for 90 minutes tonight.
He's going to
go for 4 hours.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But just right then be actually, I'm retiring effective immediately. Kamala Harris is the president. We're going into a DNC with somewhat of an open convention. That would be the only story. And it would take all of his sails away, and Trump has made so many overtures that he does not want Biden to drop out. It would send the entire, it would collapse any momentum at the end of the RNC and send the entire Trump campaign establishment into a spin. It would be
absolutely
a work of a move of political genius at this moment. But he won't do
it would be announcing that you're pregnant at someone's birthday.
Yes,
It would be so cunty. I hope that he does that. But can we just talk about how patronizing it was that they're like, oh yeah, an hour and a half delay. Oh, it's because he has COVID. Like in this moment of instant testing.
Right.
What do you? It's very insulting.
I got to shout out Hessa, who pointed out the Biden tweet from the official. He didn't tweet it, but from the official Joe Biden account where he just tweeted, "I'm sick," and then the follow up tweet was of Elon Musk and big tech's interference, blah blah. But like, I'm dying to be your president in 2024.
Elon should delete the follow up, like permanently delete the follow up, so it just says I'm sick. I would buy Twitter Blue then if he did that. Like Biden doing that would be, I don't know if it would be a death knell, but it would be like pretty bad for them, because I don't know if you guys have been following, the based internet. You guys aren't tapped in.
I am in pederastic bug reach. So yes, I'm currently up to date.
A lot of people on the Groyper side of things. My guys. I love Groyper. He's a cute little frog. He's a cute little fat frog who can be all sorts of things, it turns out. He's like Malibu Stacy.
Liberal Groyper.
Yeah, there's even liberal Groypers now. Yep. You can be a Groyper and be anything. But
good design.
He's just so cute. But they were mad because Amber Rose gave like a huge speech, and Trump was so locked in. He was so obsessed with her. He loved her speech. And when J.D. Vance and Don Jr. were speaking, it was he took a per 80 he found on the ground. He was nodding off. He did not give a shit. But yeah, they were. I saw a lot of that girl who she went to the hospital because she didn't drink water.
Yeah,
Melanie Mack. She was like very mad because Amber Rose was at one point a Satanist or something.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't understand like forcing yourself to be afraid of like Satanists in real life, because every Satanist is just Satanists as they exist practically. Besides like Michael Aquino, that's a different guy. He's that's a different thing. Most Satanists you interact with in popular culture are just like libertarians who dress up like Dracula.
They're nerds.
Like it's so insane to like be like, that's so scary. They're gonna put a curse on me.
They're goth nerds. The only I remember decent thing about the quote unquote Satanists was that they were in some states, including my shitty state, and you can rant all you want about Reddit atheists and how annoying you are, but try getting an abortion in Indiana. They did all these like lawsuit free speech things where they would put up like a Baphomet
library or whatever.
And it's like, one, that was like fun and cute at the time, and two, they weren't really Satanists. They were just kind of like the
trolling.
90s type of libertarian where they're like, we do want a separation of church and state. Now they're like hot topic.
I think people, I don't know, there's been an overreaction about Reddit atheism in the culture in general. Where people
it's coastal elitism.
People who like weren't even alive for it are like they're somehow they have like epigenetic memories of it and are embarrassed by it, and they're like, well, guess what? I'm Eastern Orthodox now, and it's like you've never left Maryland. You're not Eastern Orthodox.
The pendulum swung too far the other way, and whatever, they're annoying, but you have to remember this about the internet. Most people on it at any given time, no matter when you're logged on, are 14 years old. So give them a wide berth.
That is true. That is the average age of people in my group chat.
Going down the list, I mean, there's a few.
It's a bunch of 30-year-olds and one baby.
It averages very perfect, just perfect, 14 and a half.
We love our little friend, Viable Fetus Groyper.
Viable Fetus Groyper is going to be, we should see if that's already an account.
I'll look for it. I mean, you know my favorite Groyper of all time.
Music Groyper.
Music Groyper.
Music Groyper.
I just love that. It's so general. Like, just all music in general, music theory. What are you into?
Scales.
Harpsichord.
I guess the other standout was Matt Gaetz speaking last night, and I don't know anything he said, just because the photos of what he looks like now. I would say, if you're looking for a comparison, he looks like Bruce Campbell as the Surgeon General of Beverly Hills in Escape from L.A. Just look that up. Put those side by side. He got some wild work done.
Holy shit!
But I do like how Gaetz has been like stalking the floor of the convention, just shitting on Kevin McCarthy,
who's not coming back, and then the other part that you have, and the other part you have is one person who raised the issue. He's got an ethics complaint about sleeping with a 17-year-old. So that's the way they would go. So that's the biggest challenge we have.
Yeah, he's a true hater.
Yeah,
I like that about him. But he looks fucking insane.
Yeah. It looks like he went to the plastic surgeon and brought in a picture of Max Headroom.
Yeah.
This is so weird.
Yeah, he went to the DR with like a blank check. Like, you know how he's married into a VR fortune?
No,
what?
I didn't know.
So he's married to Ginger Lucky, which, look it up. This is not a woman from 1952. I thought, did he marry a 78-year-old?
Yeah,
to like,
she did videos with Betty Page.
Yeah. Yeah. She previously dated a muscle man who only lifted triangular weights that said 100 lubs. Yeah. So she's the sister of Palmer Lucky, who created.
Come on.
No, it's a real guy. It's a real guy. There's a real guy named Palmer Lucky.
Wait,
I believe you, but come on.
I know. I don't like the name any more than you do. But he made I think the Oculus, like one of the big VR headsets. Okay. And he also runs a combat drone contracting company that's named after some Lord of the Rings shit. It's called like Ariandel or some shit.
Okay. That's very appropriate.
I'm so against combat drones, by the way. Taking the pilot out of that,
yeah,
like fuck you. But anyway, he married into a VR fortune, and appropriately, he does look like over-rendered now.
Yeah.
He looks like, do you remember the Final Fantasy movie that Alec Baldwin was in?
Do I? The Spirits Within?
Yeah, he looks like Spirits Within now. It's so crazy.
Steve Buscemi was in that.
Oh, what a good
That was a good movie. We should do a movie episode on Final Fantasy Spirits Within.
I remember when it came out, it came out in like, what, 1999?
Oh, like 98, 99, something like that.
Yeah, it was
a huge flop.
Yeah.
It was a disaster.
Flop.
Yeah. Well, most great art isn't appreciated in its time. I guess like the other marquee speaking engagement at the RNC that's certainly caused a lot of discourse is Sean O'Brien. Amber, do you have some thoughts on the Teamsters?
Yeah, I don't actually know who is actually like pissed about this beyond like, you know, fairly institutional people, but I've had some questions from like people out of the country about it. So I don't know, just for your edification, for organizations like the Teamsters for a Democratic Union, they endorsed O'Brien, who was formerly part of like, you know, the Hoffa Jr. administration. And he broke with them over a few things, like the national being too punitive and like basically it being in an activist union where it was just like, you know, maintain stuff, don't support any of the locals, like, and yeah, just kind of sucking. So he broke with them and said he wanted to run a more activist union that was more antagonistic. And it's a good idea. It's like one of the only people that could beat him because when he has sort of name recognition and people sort of respect him as a leader. So, like, people who are, like, legacy Hoffa supporters, like, people who are just, like, passive Biden voters who are like, oh, yeah, him, I know that guy, whatever, still kind of like him. And people are inclined to, even if they didn't question the national, believe when someone comes out and says this is corrupt and fucked up. And the people who wanted to change voted for him, too. And he won.
We've done several episodes on this.
Yes.
You can go find them.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, this wasn't a surprise. The speech was announced in advance. And this is also nothing new. O'Brien had his like picture taken with Trump sometime last year, and they were shaking hand, and the captions was like, it was like something really non-committal. It's like, if Donald Trump is our next president, we look forward to opening up conversations about the future of labor. That's a paraphrase, but it wasn't an endorsement, and neither was the speech. It's also not unprecedented. There's an endorsement of a Republican, so...
Well, Jimmy Hoffa gave $500,000 to Richard Nixon.
Yeah. And sometimes that's strategic. Sometimes they're trying to appeal to their right-wing base. There's a lot of reasons for that. They endorsed Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, but they also endorsed George Bush Sr., Nixon, and Reagan twice. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a bad move. So there are 4 reasons, I think, why he might have chosen to speak.
I mean, you gave me one very compelling one last night.
We'll get to that. 1, he's convinced Trump is going to win. That is, yeah. And if that's the case, it makes sense to get in early.
Well, he's a fool for believing that if Joe Biden stays in the race. Because keep in mind, Joe Biden's the only president who's ever defeated Donald Trump.
That's a great point.
Whether this would actually benefit the Teamsters, time will tell. But, like, Trump is a weird guy. Remember the speeches he gave to the Builders Union? He at least does lip service. It was so awesome. He's like, let's hear it for the drywallers, the electricians, it was like the most obscure, like, it's like tile moderazzo, like, it was like weird unions, like weird
moldings.
Yeah.
Crown moldings.
I would love to see Donald Trump interact with roofers.
Donald Trump with my dad just chain smoking and spitting on the ground shirtless.
I mean, to be fair, given his history, he probably does know all these people from like building hotels and stuff, from going down a long list of people and going, not paying them, paying them. The molding people, they're not getting paid.
So, and Biden's not looking good, and O'Brien isn't the only union leader to notice. Sean Fain of the auto workers had like a meeting where he's like, you guys, I don't know if he can win. And he's someone who like came out and endorsed Biden very early and was like, Donald Trump is everything we stand against, blah, blah. But even he's like, guys, this is maybe not good. So, 2, he's acknowledging Republican voters or Trump fans in the Teamsters. Teamsters as a union have endorsed Republican in the past, etc. And acknowledging that there are 2 candidates is kind of valid. You just kind of want the platform no matter what. That's always a good idea, if you have an opportunity. So he says, he said in the speech, I represent 1.3 million members, very diverse membership. We've got Republicans, Democrats, independents. So we have an obligation to do our due diligence and not just serve one part of our membership. We have to hear from all of them. So maybe he's reaching out to Trump, maybe the RNC, but he's definitely reaching out to the membership, which is a good idea. 3, ego, drama. So, okay, this isn't just about speaking at the fucking convention, but he said this in the speech. He's like, I believe we have to message this to America, blah, 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 which is why I reached out to both the Democrats and Republicans about speaking at their convention. Only one party returned his call.
Oh, there you go.
Girl. So there's that, but it's not just that. So, like, he tried to meet with Biden, I think earlier this year, over like a shipping company that was bought by corporate interests, and then they bankrupted it because it was unionized. It was like 30,000 Teamster jobs, and they bankrupted it so that they didn't have competition from a unionized workforce. It was like, the same corporate demonic behavior, and he requested, audience with the president, and he didn't pick up the phone. So, maybe as a bruised ego, I'd be pissed, but I don't think it comes totally from that. Number 4, I think this is the most plausible. So if you want something from someone, particularly someone that has a history of promising you things and not giving it, you want to make sure that they know that you have other options. He said, we are not beholden to anyone or any party, which is true. Unlike, the union serves its members. He didn't endorse. He says, we're not interested if you have an R&D or an I next to your name. We want to know one thing. What are you doing to help American workers? So to me, this looks like a bidding war. He's starting a bidding war. And I don't mean necessarily that they're going to go with the Republicans if they give them a better offer. Like O'Brien has said, like, Joe Biden is like the best president for labor in my lifetime. And yeah, I think it's about keeping them on their toes.
This also works in relationships as well. Just out there for the handy negotiators.
Exactly. Oh, my ex called me. So, real quick, the Teamsters have donated to the RNC $45,000 in February. 2 months earlier, in December, they donated $135,000 to the DNC. But 1 month after that $45,000 RNC donation, they donated $10,000 to the DNC. They're absolutely playing both sides. And by the way, it's clearly these are gesture donations. So when you see stuff on like The Nation, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're like a cruise ship company, but they also have this magazine. Yeah. And you have Larry Cohen writing Donald Trump is not a friend to American workers. Well, duh. But there are strategic reasons for doing this. Also, by the way, very good speech. Listen to it. It's not that long. Also, bio, Larry Cohen is a past president of the Communication Workers of America, on the board chair of Our Revolution, and a member of the Democratic National Committee.
I thought he was the director of Q, the Winged Serpent.
So very wishy-washy wording. He talks about Sean O'Brien's support. He didn't endorse him, either personally or on behalf of the union. He's acknowledging that the guy who might be president and who has an audience of quite a few voters is probably worth acknowledging and addressing his potential voters. And I don't know, as for, he said Biden is the most pro-labor president. I mean, he might be, again, trying to appeal to Trump, but I don't think that's his thinking. I think he wants to scare the Dems. And at this point, why not give it a shot? Also, again, Trump loves the idea of Teamsters.
They're big guys. They're big guys. They got cool jackets.
They're cool. Teamsters are cool. And he's lost Hollywood, so he might do a lot of things to be cool. And just generally, there's a lot less militarism when labor unions are weak anyway. So it's kind of not like, even if they did endorse the Republicans, any rank and file Teamsters would vote for Trump. So scuttlebutt also is they're not going to endorse him, but they might not endorse anybody, which is a good move because it's a very, what have you done for me lately? But I'm leaning towards that. It's a gamble, but whatever. But I bet the Democrats will return his calls soon.
Can I ask one thing from just some of the objections that I've seen to this? What would you say to the complication of they're letting credence to this idea that there's going to be a pro-worker new iteration, or not a more pro-labor new iteration of the conservatives, all the stuff that a Josh Hawley type says about we're going to have a labor conservatism or something.
There probably isn't, but on a base by base, I mean, he did get a few politicians to go against right to work, national right to work. And you can say it's cynical. Yeah. But clearly he's got somebody by the balls, or at least is doing some good negotiations, because it's Josh fucking Hawley. It's yeah, absolutely it's cynical. But guess what? Who are your voters? I don't think even Sean O'Brien believes there's going to be a right-wing labor movement. I think it's about what you can get from people. And whoever's in charge is going to have to be who you're working with or fighting.
Well, I mean, I personally would never support anything political cynically. Joe Biden, please do not drop out of this race. We need you. We need you in the White House, sir. You're the only one who's ever defeated Donald Trump.
So I'm not sure if he's an egomaniac or a brilliant strategist or a complete moron or just a really a gambler or some combination. But I don't think he's a crypto right-wing freak or the sort of opportunist that would sell out members. I do think this is hilarious. It's a great speech. It's an aggressively pro-labor speech. And whatever all the liars in there clapping for him, it doesn't matter. He got a huge audience.
I seem to recall Dave Weigel reporting from the convention that that speech did not receive that many pops in the room.
Yeah.
All I know that my Elvira's mine. Yeah. And I'm singing Elvira.
Well, before we wrap it up here today, I'd like to change directions. I'd like to change directions away from politics and talk about television. And talk about a very specific television movie that was introduced to me by our good friend Matt Chrisman. Now, Matt has been texting me for weeks about this movie. It is a made-for-TV movie from 1997 titled The Advocate's Devil. I, for the longest time, thought he was speaking about The Devil's Advocate, which I was like, sick. Keanu, Al Pacino, it's great.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it when Tamara Tooney turns into a demon when they're trying on lingerie. It scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. No, friend. It is not the Keanu Reeves Al Pacino movie, The Devil's Advocate. It is a movie starring a guy named Ken Olin, who I've never seen in anything before.
Ken Olin is the founder and creator and warlord of This Is Us.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so it stars Ken Olin.
One of the most evil men in the world.
It stars Ken Olin, Mariska Hargitay, Wendell Pierce, and Holt McElhaney. So, like, by 2024 standards, that is a murderer's row for a TV movie. But I was wondering, why did Matt want me to see this movie so much? What is it in this movie? I would try to get him to describe what it's about, and he told me to cease my inquiries, which are useless, and abandon any further inquiries at this point. So then Matt screened it for me the other night. I'm just going to describe to you. We're watching the credits to the movie, and I'm like, Mariska Hargitay. All right, pre-Law and Order SVU.
I would start gooning right there. I don't care whose house I was
Then
at.
we get to produced by a man named Elon Dershowitz, and I go, interesting. Then it says based on a novel by Alan Dershowitz. This is okay. So this is a TV movie.
Is it a sexy thriller?
Well, that's one way to put it. So Ken Olin stars as a thinly veiled Alan Dershowitz stand-in.
This is already the most evil movie ever made.
Dude, this is so common, by the way, in the UK. So many former MPs, and they're all right-wing, thinly veiled, fantasy fiction novels about themselves.
Amber, this novel that Alan Dershowitz wrote, titled The Advocate's Devil, is Mr. Dershowitz's version of OJ's If I Did It. And when I describe to you the plot of this movie, you're going to shit. Okay, so the movie is about the Ken Olin / Alan Dershowitz character is, a single father with a college-age daughter who's sort of like a hotshot defense attorney who needs a win. And he finds that win in a big media-saturated case of an NBA player played by Holt McElhaney, who's known as the White Knight. He's a white basketball star who is accused of rape. And he takes on his defense. And now this is a case in which the woman who is accusing him
was raped.
Yes, but on the surface, like, she went to his hotel room, she put in her diaphragm, she consented to a sexual encounter until something went wrong. Now, in the film, the Ken Olin character names the accuser in the media, and he's like, "I fight tough, but always fair."
My God.
So, okay, it gets better, because in the course of defending this the superstar NBA rapist, he begins to discover that this guy is definitely a rapist. And he's a rapist with a very specific MO. He uses LegalZoom and very early internet. Like, he gets on Netscape and gets legal documents or hacks into the emails of his intended targets. And he selects his targets by finding women who have brought charges of sexual assault or harassment against a man that has failed in court before, so that when he rapes them and she accuses him of rape, they will be vulnerable on the witness stand or in terms of any legal proceeding. He continues to defend him zealously and gets him off. And when he is acquitted, the Ken Olin, Alan Dershowitz character looks at Holt McElhaney and says, "You really need to get help." As he walks out of the courtroom.
I mean, an absolute justice system, even rapists deserve a defense. But that's not the point. The point is he is telling on himself.
Amber, it gets so much worse. It gets
worse than that?
Okay, yes, it gets a lot worse than that. Okay. I mentioned Mariska Hargitay is in this movie. Mariska Hargitay plays...
You could anonymously submit the evidence.
She plays the private investigator that works for his law firm. But, he's been having a relationship with this woman. And, it's set up like he's a single father. And there's a scene where, his college-age daughter, she's about to go off to Berkeley. It's just like, "Dad, how come..." And Mariska Hargitay's character in this movie is named Rendy. And she's like, "Dad, how come Rendy never sleeps over? She's great. You should ask her to marry you." and he's like, ugh, like, you know, he gets all he clams up. There is a throwaway line where
she's in kindergarten.
There's a throwaway line where he's talking about Rendy, and the Wendell Pierce character, who's his associate at the law firm, says, you know, she should go back to her old job, spying for the Mossad.
What the fuck?
Yes.
What the fuck? What? What?
So basically, after he gets the white knight NBA rapist acquitted, NBA rape boy, but he gets him acquitted and says, buddy, you really need to see a psychiatrist. You need to get help for all these rapes you're doing. Then he commits another rape and a murder.
This is the thing about, like, rapists, is they're not like, oh no, stop me before I rape again. They love raping people.
Yeah, it's not like
they're not werewolves.
You can't give them like the willpower of an intermittent faster. All right, enough of that. I've had my fun.
So the Ken Olin Alan Dershowitz character is like the rape and murder takes place at the same hotel that him and Mariska Hargitay are having a romantic evening together, slow dancing to Patti LaBelle. I shit you not. And then it is intercut between that and Holt McElhaney like throwing a woman onto the marble tiling of a bathroom and killing her. So then, like, he's just like, "Oh, I'm feeling pretty bad about this." So he confronts NBA rape boy at a youth league practice, and he's like, "I know you killed that woman, and like you got to stop." And then he's like, and then,
nothing, by the way, prevented him from anonymously submitting that
legal
evidence.
ethics, Amber. Legal ethics.
The first time, but the second time, he's not even. What was he on retainer? Like he's not even his lawyer anymore.
I don't know. But then, like, he's like, if you want to go one-on-one with me, you're going to lose. So here's what happens. He has previously introduced the White Knight to his daughter.
Is it a free throw contest? Sorry.
To get revenge on his advocate, the devil takes his daughter out for her 18th birthday, shows up in her college dorm room with flowers, and is like, I'm going to take you on a magical night on the town. The climax of this movie is like Dershowitz scrambling with the San Francisco Police Department to find out what hotel his daughter is at to prevent her from being raped by his former client. And then they burst in, and like the daughter is pretty much sexually assaulted in this.
See, that's how you know it's fake, because Dershowitz just let it happen.
Here's the real jaw drop moment. Here's the real mic drop moment. I've said previously, it seems like he is a single father raising this daughter on his own, and they make reference to the mother who's not in the picture. So one of the White Knight, his MO is that he seduces women who are willing to have sex with him, but then in the last moment, like, whispers in their ear details from legal cases that they brought against the boss. Like, he says like something like, I want you to do me like you did your boss to keep your job, or something like that. And then they're like, oh, like, no thanks. And then he gets off on the struggle, and then, you know, like when they pull away. So he seduces Dershowitz's daughter, and like he has her on the bed, and she's like, I can't believe this is happening. Oh my God. And then right before, he whispers in her ear, your mother's car accident wasn't an accident. She killed herself because your dad was having an affair with Rendy.
Okay, you know the Nick Mullen joke. It's one of my favorite jokes where it's making fun of conspiracy theorists. Where he's like, it doesn't make sense that someone would do all this meticulous planning that is surely illegal. Would get them thrown in prison, and then go now for the final step, the clues. But this is one instance of that actually being true. This is actually Alan Dershowitz going, let's make an entire movie that's just clues.
Yes.
What the what?
I mean, I don't actually believe that, criminals usually want to, confess.
Yeah.
You know? But this is challenging my theory of that.
Yep.
Like, he wants to tell on himself.
This movie was powerful.
God dang. I'm like, even just the idea that Alan Dershowitz went to like a bunch of producers and was like, would you like to make a movie about my life? And they were like, yes. That's already insane. I mean,
evil. We did a movie already based on his life. Reversal of Fortune. There are two movies.
He's one of the most unappealing men ever. He's one of the most unappealing men ever. And there are two movies about how cool he is, and he has sex in both of them.
And in both movies, he gets a guy acquitted for either rape or murder of a woman.
Oh my God.
But I mean, he's probably defended some of those producers and studios.
Yeah.
So, he's got something on him.
Yeah.
So Just had to share that with you. An amazing Matt Christman recommendation, The Advocate's Devil. Available to watch on Tubi if you're interested.
Tubi.
That's a Tubi classic.
Should we wrap it up there, everybody?
Yeah.
Looks good to me.
All right. Well, who knows what tomorrow will bring, but just please, all my prayer warriors out there, stay strong for President Biden.
Yeah, remember.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Heart's on fire, Elvira. Let's go now, let's go. Giddy up, boom, bop, mow, mow. Giddy up, boom, bop, mow, mow. High, oh, silver, away. High, oh, silver. Hey.